Not too long ago, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he asked me a question that made me think deeply. He's currently in his third year, attending the same university I did, studying the same course I did, and he asked what I would do differently if I could go back to my third year. I thought about the question for a while, and then I realized something that I hadn't really given much thought to. You see, over the last 6 years, since 2019, thereabouts, when I was like 14, 15 years old, I have been actively trying to become a better person, develop myself, learn skills, all of those things. And I like to term this phase of my life from like 2019 up until last year, my exploration phase, where I was trying a bunch of things. So I've tried copywriting, photography, graphics design, coding, trading. I've tried almost everything. There's almost nothing you want to mention that I haven't tried. But I haven't succeeded at most of them. In fact, I've probably failed at 95% of those things, but I have tried a bunch of things. And when I think back to that time, or that phase of my life, one of the things that I can remember vividly is this deep rooted feeling of agitation and frustration that has accompanied me throughout that phase of my life. When I think back to my 100 level, for example, when I was learning copywriting, I would constantly beat myself up because I had no idea how this was going to fit into the big picture of my life. I would ask myself questions like, why exactly am I doing this in the first place? Am I even supposed to be doing this thing right now? Could I be doing something else? How is this going to fit into the bigger puzzle of what my life is supposed to look like? And I would keep on beating myself up, and I would be frustrated and I would be agitated throughout this whole process of trying to learn this thing because I had no idea how it was going to make sense in the long run. And I remember this was just not copywriting. This was almost every single thing that I tried, almost every single thing that I tried to build throughout this whole phase of my life. And now going back to the question that my friend asked me, which is what would I do differently if I could go back to my 300 level? One of the things that I would do differently if I could go back to even my 100 level self or my senior secondary school self is to simply tell myself that you do not need to know what the big picture and what the 15-step vision and the final destination is going to look like. Because frankly, first of all, in most cases, even if you had like the 15-step vision and all of that, at the end of the day, the likelihood that what you would do eventually would match up to that same plan that you've put up is almost negligible. That's the first thing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't like set plans and all of that, but that's the story for another day. But then the second reason why I came to this conclusion is because just by simply looking back at my own life and some of the things that I have done, I was reflecting on this on the call that I had with him. When I think about this YouTube channel and this audience, decently sized audience that I've built up right now, back in the days in like 2020, 2019, I would get my mom's phone and then put it up in one corner of the sitting room and I would start speaking. I would do this motivational quotes with my afro. I'd probably put up a video somewhere on the screen. And back then, I had no idea how that was going to fit into anything. But little did I know that I was building decent skills that I would use eventually at the end of the day, like I'm using right now, which is the skill of communication, to build this audience and speak to you and share the things that are in my head and be able to at least decently articulate my thoughts properly for you to be able to receive it. But then back then, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how it was going to fit into the big picture. I didn't even know if that was what I was going to be doing or what I was supposed to be doing, but I just kept on doing them. Another thing I can think about is the intro calls that I do. Right now, I get paid, like I have a link in my description to get paid 25,000 for an hour where I just sit down and we talk about, whatever it is that you're going through in your life, right? So far, I've not had a single refund from doing the intro calls. Everybody has been satisfied with the intro calls. And the only reason I'm able to do that right now is because back in the days in my university, I would sit down with some of my friends like, how far, what are you doing with your life right now? Where are you at right now? Where are you trying to get to? Are you stuck? And I would draw up action plans for them to get from where they are to where they want to go. I did this multiple times, obviously for free for a bunch of people. But back then when I was doing that, I had no idea that this was going to be something that would be beneficial to me, a skill that I was building that I would use eventually in the future, and I would get paid from and be able to impact a lot more people at the end of the day. Back then, I had no idea that it was going to add up and make sense in the future. Another thing is like my job right now, the remote work program that I'm building. The only reason I'm able to do that and I'm in a position to be able to make a program, helping people get remote jobs is first of all because I did it myself to get my job. And the only reason I did it myself to get my job is because back in the days I used to run an agency. I actually did 2 different agencies, right, where I would send out cold emails to a bunch of people. And back then I wasn't getting any feedback. I wasn't getting any replies. Things were not working out. I was beating myself so bad because first of all, things weren't working out. Second of all, I didn't know if this was going to be applicable, how this was going to fit into I just beat myself up so bad. But then looking at it now, the only reason I am where I'm doing the things I'm doing now was because of that time when I was learning this skill of being able to send a cold email to somebody and hopefully getting a reply, right? If I think to the newsletter that I have, by the way, link to my newsletter in the description that I do now, the only reason I knew to start a newsletter was because I was learning marketing back in the days. I was learning copywriting back in the days. Now I know what to write in the newsletter. I know how to craft my words in the newsletter such that I can get people to take action and, to click on whatever link it is or promote whatever it is that I want to promote. And now I have over 3,300 people on there. The reason I knew to start that and to do that was because back in the days in 100 level, I was trying to learn this marketing thing, trying to learn this copywriting thing. And back then I had no idea that this was going to make sense in the future and this was going to add up to become anything, substantial in the future. And the point I'm trying to make here, and I'm using this as a form to tell myself literally, because this is something that I still struggle with till today, is that you do not need to know what the 15-step vision and the full plan is going to look like. Because frankly, if you do not know, you do not know. It would be nice to know what it would look like, but in most cases, most people don't know what it looks like. I don't know what my next 5-year plan is, right? I was having a conversation with a friend who was asking me, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? And I was like, frankly, I have no idea what the next 5 years is going to look like. If you asked me last year what now would have looked like, I would have had no idea. Obviously, you should have a plan, you should have goals, you should have a vision and all of that. But then I would have had no idea, right? And I still have no idea what the next 5 years is going to look like. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if I could advise myself going back, I would simply tell myself to do the best that I can do, or do the best with the things that I have in front of me to the best of my ability. And usually by doing the things that are in front of me that I have on my plate right now to the best of my ability, usually from there is where the next thing stems from, and the thing that I'm supposed to be doing that, is going to add up to the overall vision of my life, that is where it's going to come from. So I simply just have to focus on the things in front of me, do them to the best of my ability, not worry about the 15-year plan and the 5-year and the 15-step vision and all of that. It would be nice, like I said, to have those things, but then frankly, if you don't know, you don't know. And you can try to draw up something, that's fine, but then doing the things that are in front of me to the best of my ability and not beating myself up for not knowing how things are going to connect in the long run. Because frankly, in a lot of cases, the only way you can connect the dots is looking behind, which is the only way I know that, okay, now that I'm doing this YouTube thing, I'm only able to do it properly because I learned the skill of communication over the years of making videos in the past. And I know this intro call thing because I was talking with many people and a bunch of things that I have going on right now. But the only way I'm able to know those things is because I'm now looking back. And if I could go back, I would tell myself, don't beat yourself up so bad. Just focus on the things that you have in front of you right now. Do them to the best of the ability, and then things would fall in place, as you keep on going. That's basically it. Sign up to my newsletter, first link in the description, and Happy New Year.